Well, hey, friends, my name's Andrea. This is Journals for Breakfast. You are so welcome here. That looks really messy over there. It's actually just straightened up. Here, you want me to turn it so you don't have to look at it? I'll angle it. That's better. We are moving through camp. Camp Craft at 55 has been a huge success. The first thing I want to say about this camp is if you have no idea what I'm talking about, check the description below. I will link the first camp video so you can get caught up with us. Many of you know exactly what I'm talking about because so many of you have sent me the nicest comments, emails, shared with me your version of this concept of a camp. And for me, the concept of the camp was I walked into this summer a little burned out on my own never ending to do list and project list. I should be doing this, I should be doing that. And I just needed a break from my own nonsense. My head was just spinning with the things I thought I needed to be doing. I fall into that trap pretty easily because for most of my life, I believed that my value was locked into my output. The more that I did that seemed productive, the more valuable I could tell myself I was, or I might even hear from other people how valuable I was. How wonderful is that? It's been a big process breaking away from finding my value in the approval of other people. And this is just another phase of that. And I realized that my nonstop to doing and shoulding was really just wearing me down. And it was also pointless. A good to do list is a handy tool, and I'm all for it. But what was happening to me was that this to do list was actually it was really becoming punishing, and it was not giving me it was becoming the only focus of my hours of the day. You should be doing this laundry, you should be folding that laundry, you should be steaming these shirts. You know what? The laundry's going. While that's happening, can we do something enjoyable? And I have this huge craft room full of things that I told myself in all of my working years that I would make time for if I didn't have a job. And I want to talk about stash for a minute because I think that's another area where crafters can start to feel a little bit of shame. Where does all this stash come from? And I realized for myself this week that in part, a lot of what built up into this room, it was a form of escape in the years that I was working too hard. In the years that the burnout was really consuming me, but I felt stuck. I didn't feel like I had options to break away from the way that I was working. And so the burnout just had to be tolerated. In those years, I think that like fantasy me would buy a cross stitch kit and say, one day we'll set up a life where we have time for this. It was like envisioning this creative life in this slower pace. And I think that's a big part of why I bought a lot of these crafts. And so I don't have any shame about what's here. I know what it provided for me as a purchase at the time, and it provided relief. It provided a fantasy place to land at a time that was very challenging. So now I do have the time, and now I'm making the time to make these the priority, and it's going great. We did our sewing weeks, and I'm so happy that I devoted that time to that craft. If you saw those videos leading into that, you know that a big part of my discussion with myself was, am I moving sewing into the rotation to the point where I might even buy a sewing table and try to get it set up here? Or am I saying goodbye to sewing? Sewing stash is cumbersome. It takes up a lot of space. Those of you who have fabric know exactly what I'm talking about. Sewing machines are big and bulky. Am I going to keep up with this? And what I learned in my 2 weeks of summer camp for sewing is that I like projects, not garments. And so I'm going to let go of garments. I took my last garment class this past Sunday, and it was really nice to wrap that up and say goodbye to that. I'm glad I followed through with it, but I'm done with that now. And it allowed me the freedom to face that I do not need a fabric stash. I have a few fabrics that you guys saw in the sewing weeks that I made zip top bags out of, and I've hung on to those because I bought those relatively recently in the world of stash builders, like in the last 2 to 5 years. And there's just a few of them. They're in a trunk under the desk behind me. They don't take up much space. So those I've kept. I had a closet that's a linen closet in the hall that was holding on to stash that frankly had been gifted me and or inherited. These were fabrics that were beautiful and could be useful and fun, but I didn't buy them. They came to me, and I finally felt okay about letting go of them and passing them on to someone else who might enjoy. So 5 bags of sewing stuff went out the door to Goodwill on Monday morning. So some lucky soul nearby is going to stumble into a heck of a sewing stash and have some fun. It felt great to let go of those because what I realized at the sewing center on Sunday when I was finishing up my class, they had these beautiful fabrics they had just gotten in. And I thought, if you really do want to make a project, this is why. You're going to walk into a sewing center, see a fabric that just says, please make a tote bag out of me this week. And I'll go home and do it with that fabric. But shopping stash that had been gifted me, that just felt like hang on to because there's certainly nothing wrong with it. That just doesn't, it's just not working for me. So I let it go. I'm really relieved that I did. And I gave myself a beautiful supply closet out of the deal. So isn't this funny though, that this summer camp, crafting and creating, guess what I did? I got rid of one of my shoulds, which was you should clean out that linen closet and turn it into a supply closet. And it happened as a byproduct of working on these other creative things. Um, I've gotten so many beautiful comments from you guys and emails. Some of you have sent me your schedule day to day, what your camp looks like week to week. It's been so fun to look at those. I love that you just took it and did your spin on it. That's exactly right. My schedule right now is wacky. I mean, it's weird even to me. The likelihood that anyone out there has a day that's going to look anything like my days is very slim. The concept of the camp was let go of the to-dos and the shoulds and replace them so that your main focus and thinking is on the want to-dos, not the need to-dos, and see how that feels. Within that, I did set up specific weeks, 2 weeks of sewing, 2 weeks of paper jam, 2 weeks of weaving, 2 weeks of watercolor. I like having a little definition of the time block so that I'm not just floundering, because I do tend to flounder a bit if I don't set up kind of some deadlines. Some people are the opposite. Deadlines either absolutely inspire you and you get it done. That's me. That's why book clubs work for me. You set a date in a book, I will have it read by that date. Period. End of story. No question about it. It can have the opposite effect on a lot of people. Set that deadline and they will push back forever. For me, I like a deadline, and having the 2 weeks, little chunks like that devoted to specific things has helped me really stay focused on those projects. You saw from my last 2 videos that I found solo RPG journaling the last day of my paper jam 2 weeks of camp, and I went crazy. I fell in love. I was supposed to start weaving that very next morning, and I moved weaving to the very end of the summer. In fact, I've moved the weaving 2 weeks so far back that I think I'm actually going to start them the first 2 weeks of September. And rather than them be summer camp, they're going to be the start of fall projects. I'm glad I did that. One, I was so obsessed with these RPJs, and I still am. I love them. It was so fun to give myself 2 weeks to just keep going down that rabbit hole once I found it. But the other thing is, it's been just a horrific heat wave here. And the idea of having a loom full of wool in my lap, forget it. I probably wouldn't have touched it. So that turned out to be very fortuitous, not intentional. It just happened. The yarns I have set aside for my weaving projects are 100% wool and very, very scratchy. That's why they're there. They're part of my knitting stash, and I had to just get really clear about things that I wouldn't wear, but I could make fabrics out of for bags and things like that. So hence the loom, hence the weaving. We'll get down to that in the very start of the fall. What I'm going to be moving into for the next 2 weeks is needlework. And I actually am thinking that I might turn this into a 3-week camp for myself. 3 weeks of cross stitch, embroidery, various types of needlework. So today, I've got some overhead for you to come through with me and look at the kits that I already have. Remember, a big part of the focus here is just using up my own stash. Um, why do I have this stash? Because I bought a lot of these things at a time when life was so challenging that it was so appealing to me to buy an embroidery kit or a cross stitch kit with this idea that one day I'll have the time to devote an entire day just to cross stitch. I knew that it would happen one day. And so it was kind of a fantasy thing that I was fulfilling, and I have no shame in that. I think it's a really actually, it was a really therapeutic thing for me to do during some really, really hard work years, but now I get to actually do that fantasy and settle in and enjoy these. So I'm going to ask for your help in selecting what it is I put into the hoop and get started on Monday. So we'll go through those in a moment. I want to share some language with you about the brain shift in letting go of the to-dos and the shoulds and embracing the things that I really want to do and allowing myself to make those priority. The word that keeps rolling around in my mind lately is permission. What I've realized that this camp has reframed my thinking into is, instead of this punishing, you should be doing, I have moved into this granting of permission. You're allowed to do this instead. This is a very new type of thinking for me. Um, I will grant myself permission to totally chill out for a week around Christmas after all of the chaos at work. But I honestly have been in a cycle for most of my life of very punishing work, and then I reward myself with a short break. Very punishing work, and then I reward myself. I grant myself permission, but only after a lot of really challenging hours have been put in. That is stopping now. I'm granting myself permission every day, even if yesterday was a day that I granted myself permission. The language I'm writing into my journal right now is, today I grant myself permission to. Today I grant myself permission to. And it can be whatever you want it to be. Ignore that basket of laundry for 24 more hours. Put sugar in my coffee. I tried to do sugar-free coffee for a while. Not my fave. Whatever it is that you need to grant yourself permission to, I bet you know, just listening to me, things are popping into your head that you have not granted yourself permission to do this summer. And I say, give it a try. That language is so freeing to me and opening so much in my heart. I'm sleeping better. I feel better. It's wild. So yeah, granting permission. It's a big brain shift, and this whole camp has been a big brain shift. It's really wild. I got a really lovely email from a viewer named Whitney, and she and I've communicated a couple of times. But I want to read you her camp manifesto again. I've read it to you a couple times during this, but I think it's so beautiful. Her camp manifesto: this is your anchor, your safe harbor for summer, a place to rest, create, move, and come back to yourself. At Camp Hammock Haven, we practice being human again. We move our bodies, make things with our hands, and spend time outside, not because we should, but because it feels good. We trade urgency for rhythm. We trade noise for noticing. We trade productivity for presence, at least for a little while each day. This camp fits into real life. 10 minutes counts, and it does not require perfection. We show up as we are, tired, busy, creative, distracted, and we still count it as a good day. I think it is absolutely brilliant. And somebody asked me recently, how do you get so many things done in your day? And they were actually commenting on an older video when I think I was still working. And one of the things I've said about finding time in our day is that we have to do it the way that we drink water. If you know that you need to get, we're going to do easy numbers here. You need to get a gallon of water in you every day. You are not going to set aside an hour from 3 to 4 p.m. to sit down with a gallon of water and start chugging. No. From the minute your feet hit the floor, you're going to take a few sips of water. 20 minutes later, you're going to repeat that. 30 minutes later, you're going to repeat that. By the time you go back to bed, you will have consumed a gallon of water in small sips throughout your day. This is what intention is for me also. I cannot be intentional all day, every day. I scroll too. I get going on reels too. But I can have pops of intention, sips of intention throughout my day. So when I go out for the walk with my dog in the morning, no phone. There's 30 minutes of just nature, just seeing what's around us, just engaging with my dog, letting him know that I'm there in this walk with him. It's a time for us to connect. We stop on our walk. How about that? And just stare out at the marsh. I just put my hand on his head. It's a moment where we do a little morning prayer session. It's a quick little pop. If it's the only thing that I did all day that was intentional, it's still so grounding. But throughout the day, I'll continue to sip on those moments of intention to fulfill that need so that come the time I go to bed, I have gotten that gallon of intention in without having to put aside a 2-hour window to guzzle. Little pops throughout. It takes practice and you will get better at it and you'll find more and more opportunity for it. It's kind of amazing. I love that Whitney has embraced this so deeply. Several of you have sent me similar things. And one question was about my own schedule. What I will say is that I am fully retired right now. That's not everybody's story. But even when I was working, in fact, forget even, especially when I was still working. I started this channel while I still owned my cooking school and before I knew about the cancer diagnosis. And I was already a few years into the practice of creating before I consume. Remember, I shared that with you so many times in past videos. Consumption for me is screen time. When I was so burnt out and still having to go, at least the intention I could find in the morning was when I would get up and get my coffee. The first thing I would do is get out a pen or a pencil or a watercolor or a journal, something. What I wouldn't do is consume screens. For me, consumption was screens. Just that little shift made such a big difference. So it was just a little sip, little pop of intention. This camp is a water tower of intention. And I needed a big reprogramming this summer. Take it as it works for you. I know your schedule is not like mine. And I do know I'm very fortunate to have as many hours as I do right now. But wherever you can find it, it will be valuable. And it might require, like I had to set up specific weeks. You might have to look at your calendar and block out a Sunday and a Monday. Take a day off, a personal day, but block them out so that they don't get lost in chores and to-dos and fulfilling other people's needs in those 2 days. You block those two off at the end of August for you, at the beginning of September for you, for these projects. We can get little pops of it in, if not a full summer camp. Yeah. Let's do an overhead. We're going to look at my needlework projects. I need help deciding where to get going on that. And then I'll come back in and we'll do a little goodbye session together as well. I'm so happy that you're here. It's really nice to update you guys. The summer's going great and it's just been so fun having you guys along for the ride. All right, let's look at some cross stitch and embroidery. All right, so let's take a look at some options for cross stitch and then embroidery for my 2 weeks of needlework. So nothing needs to be purchased. I'm digging into my own stash. And of course, this is part of the whole camp concept, is to give myself permission to get into the crafts that have always been appealing enough to me that I've purchased them or the items for them and then not found time for them. So the first one is this sampler. And I would not be doing it in cream and red, although I think it's gorgeous in that, and I might do it in that again at some point. I actually plan to do it on pale pink with Kelly green. So those are my color schemes for that. And I am guessing this pink is not going to show up very well here, but it is a soft pink and a Kelly green. And I just thought that would be a really fun twist on that sampler. So that's one thought. It doesn't look terribly complicated, but it's been a while. since I've done cross stitch. So we'll have to see how I do. So that's one option. This is probably too complicated for me to tackle now, but I just wanted to share it with you guys that it's in my stash. There was a cross stitch shop that was closing up. And so we went in to grab a few things while we could. It wasn't like it was a big sale or something that we were taking advantage of. We just wanted to grab a few patterns. Now, this also is just the pattern. It's not a kit. And I could do it in the black on the cream. I do like it, or charcoal gray, but I could pick another color scheme too. So there's that one. Beautiful. Maybe Beyond Me. I'm not positive. Here is one that might be fun to start, in part because it's not very big. However, they did this on tiny point linen, and I'd be doing this on a larger scale. So mine will be a bit bigger. And he's not a kit. So I don't have the threads, except to say I have a lot of thread. And so I feel like I could create a kit very simply. I think the fox himself is only his oranges and yellows. I mean, I really think he's actually only about 4 colors, and then the black to outline. And then the little house is the same colors as the fox. So I don't feel like that would be a tricky quote unquote kit to build myself. So he might be kind of fun, get in the fall mood with the holiday fox art. I have had these for a long time. These I got in Charleston. And so you can see what they are. They're just facades of like Charleston style homes. It's pretty involved, but it would be a fun one to get started on, wouldn't it? Also not a kit. And yes, it does tell me exactly what colors I would need, but that's a lot of thread to order. And I would definitely order it. I wouldn't try to color match this. There's a lot going on in there. And then another one I got the same time is this ironwork gate and the bricks. And again, I would order the colors for that. So I could put the order in for these threads now and have them by like week 2 of Needlework week. So that's to consider. I have this lovely little bookmark from, I believe I got this at the gift shop at Westminster Abbey. But I might have gotten it at the Biltmore. That's possible too. It was definitely a gift shop purchase, but it's a Tudor rose, which makes me think. And I already have all the threads wound, so clearly I should get this bookmark done, right? I mean, if nothing else, it would make a nice Christmas gift for someone this year. Okay, here's another. These are kits ready to go. This was a gift to me for Christmas this year. It's the Wool Shop in cross stitch. Look how cute. 2 sheep, 2 sweaters. You know, I'm a knitter, so a knitting friend is who gave me this. And that's a kit, so it's good to go. So that's definitely a contender. You know, even though the fox is so cute and sort of wintry too, I'm going to have to match threads. This one's got it all included in here. So that's a contender. And I found this one on Etsy, and really, I bought this relatively recently, meaning in the last maybe 6 months, because I thought for sure this was going to be my first dive into getting back into cross stitch. I actually want this piece because it's very similar to a piece that was a needlework piece in the same colors that was a small throw pillow that was on our bed. And over the decades, it just broke down relentlessly. Like there was no more hope for it. And so I was going to actually replace that with this. So, and this is a kit. It did come with the threads, but not the fabric, but that's okay. I have fabric. Maybe it did come with fabric. I think it did, and I washed it. So I think that's its fabric. So that's possible. Definitely a little bit involved. Now, it's middle of summer. Do you think I could get that done in the summer and then move into something more wintry and fall-like? I don't know. You guys, if you do needlework, is that reasonable? See, the thing is, I'm a knitter. I know how long it takes me to knit something. I have absolutely no idea how long it's going to take to do these cross-stitch items. I mean, the short story is I have a cross-stitch in a bag that's partially done from 1994. So one answer could be 30 years. Okay. Here is a kit came with everything that you need for an embroidery, which is this one. So it's on this sheer fabric, and you're going to do some techniques to create these pom-poms on the fabric, but this is embroidery. Embroidery goes faster, for sure. So that's definitely a possibility. And it's definitely a nice kind of end of summer in that sort of wheat color, right? So that's possible. I suppose they're all contenders, frankly. Be curious to know what you guys think about that. So there's that one. Another embroidery was a gift for my birthday this year, which is this adorable thing. So coffee cup or teacup, flowers on a stack of books, and you embroider the spines of the books too. I mean, that's really cute. And again, embroidery will go faster. So it gives you the instructions, how to mount it. I mean, it was a beautiful kit. My friend Paula gave me this for my birthday this year. Look at that. That's a big contender, isn't it? I can hear y'all saying start there. I know. I think I might. Just again, because it'll move faster because it's embroidery, but it also is that weird combo of kind of summer and fall. It's got like summery colors, but then the coffee mug and the stack of books gives you that kind of homey fall vibe. So, okay, he's a big contender. We're going to put him in the top of the list for sure. What is this? This I did get at the Biltmore, as you will see, because it's the Biltmore. So that's kind of cool. It's just a cross stitch. It's rectangle. It's not a bookmark, you know, and it came with all the threads. So I don't know that I would write Historic Biltmore Estate on it if I did it. I think I might leave that outer frame off of it and just do the house with the frame. That's possible. Okay. Possible. Cross stitch. I have a punch needle kit I've never done. I have a punch needle kit for a Highland coup that I've never done. So those two are possibilities. I've never tried punch needle, and I got these little cheapo kits thinking, just test it, because if you like it and enjoy it, I would love to do one of those beautiful punch needle floral pillowcases. Do you know what I'm talking about? That would be great. This was a gift for Christmas many years ago. Another Highland coup. He's wearing a plaid hat and scarf, and this is a full kit. So it has the fabric and all the threads. Isn't he cute? That's pretty involved though. I wonder if he's too advanced for me right now. Should I wait on him until I've tried a few other things? Maybe. I used to cross stitch. It's just been decades. It's been a long, long time. Okay. In the world of embroidery, I also want to pause and show you guys something. Now look, don't laugh, because this was the first embroidery I ever did in my life ever. And this was, let's see, this year will be 2026. So 2024, I bought a embroidery advent, and I'm going to put the link to this advent because it is one of the most enjoyable advents I've ever done in my life. One thing is it's packaged beautifully. When you get your box, every day of the advent is its own little box, its own little package. Instructions are crystal clear. I had never embroidered anything in my life when I made this. And it was just a delight to work on. So I'm going to leave her contact info. So she's an Etsy seller that does these gorgeous advents. I added the ribbon, but barring that, she provides everything: the fabric, the hoop, all of your threads, even the finishing materials, and there's clear instructions. And what you do is every day you get a little package, you open it up, it'll have that day's thread, and you can go to her YouTube channel, and there's just a little video of that day's stitch. So you'll learn a lot of different stitches. And yeah, I just found it so enjoyable that I ordered it again and did another one last year. And this one is definitely better because, you know, you improve. My writing is better. My stitches are better. My French knots that made the lights up here are a lot better. And you can kind of see a little bit in this camera light. You really can't see it with a naked eye, but in this bright camera light, that she has the little areas sectioned off for you. And then you wash this, and honestly, in real life, you cannot see that very well. And I did follow her instructions to wash that, no problemo. But you'll have these little sections that have this material, excuse me, with your what you're doing is sketched out on it. So you have something to follow. And then when you go to wash this in the end, this material dissolves in water. And so all your little pieces that helped you along just wash away. Look how pretty those packages are. I love these. And so these are now becoming a annual tradition for me. I've already ordered this year's Advent and they are available in her Etsy shop. And I can't wait to decorate with these at Christmas. But they're really fun. And if you get behind by a day or two, it is not the end of the world. You'll be fine. You will catch up. And honestly, there are at least a couple of days in there that you're going to get a little treat or something, and you're not going to actually have to stitch anything that day, which is kind of nice. It buys you a day to get caught up if you've fallen behind. It's the nicest Advent I've ever done. I've done yarn Advents. The problem at the end of them is, what am I making? And for me, I have to be really careful about yarn because I have so much. And what I have to be careful about is this yarn that I've collected up here going to produce a garment that is something I would have bought? And the answer often is no. I don't wear a lot of stripes and I don't wear a lot of color and variegation. And so those Advents where they come with 25 mini skeins in different colors can be tricky for me to find a use for. I'm having a sip of my coffee. But okay, so another thing is I could just go freehand, forget all the kits, and just use some of these beautiful Zaka embroidery books and just do something on my own. And this one has some actual projects in here, like this clutch. I'm going to get that in focus for you. Hold on. I need 3 hands, which I don't have. Here we go. Look at that. So you follow her instructions for the embroidery, and then she also gives you instructions on how to build the bag, and she sells these accessories on her website. So that's the Zaka workshops. And if you're not familiar with Zaka books, you can find them on Amazon or at her website, and they are just so cool. That her patterns are what I used. So she has all these beautiful patterns in here. This feather is here. I'm focusing up for you, don't panic. Here's the feather. That's what I used to embroider on my sweater that I knit last year. I did these feathers all over this sweater. There's one on the sleeve. Here, there's one on the back bottom hem. And I just used her pattern. I sketched it onto that washable material. This isn't a hoop, but what I actually did was put it, excuse me, on the sweater. And then the hoop had the fabric and the sweater trapped in it. And then I did my stitching, and then I just left it be and went around the whole sweater and did all of that. And then I soaked the sweater to block it, and all of that material dissolved into the water. So I could go freestyle. That's an option. So let's see what else is here. I started this in 1998. Look at this thing. All these shoes. I was into this shoe thing. And here's what's left. The remainder of this boot and the remainder of this heel. And then otherwise, this thing is done. What is wrong with me? Who puts something away for 30 years? Y'all do. You know exactly what I'm talking about. A silly thing. So I don't know if I'll finish that or not. I suppose it could be a place to start. I got to finish the animal print on that boot, and then the bow and pink heel on that shoe, and this thing is done. But because I've put it down for 3 decades, I definitely want to get a little cross stitch under my belt before I jump in and try to like remember how to pick up a pattern partway through. So I feel like this is a big contender for me because it's embroidery. It will go relatively quickly. It has that sort of fall and summer vibe. What else? You guys tell me in the comments. Is there anything else that you think of what I've shown you that we should go crazy for? And definitely let me know if you hop in and get yourself set up for the Advent this year. Advent's, listen, you got to commit now. And, it's over $100 and you're like, do I really want to spend that money right now? Let me tell you something. When that package arrives, you are going to be so thankful that you did that for yourself. I always question when I buy an Advent, you buy it in the summer. Is this crazy? What am I doing? And come December 1, when I get to open that package and start the process, I am so glad that I did. Side note, if the Advent isn't appeal to you, she does have embroidery kits, I believe, of other styles on that Etsy site as well. I'm not saying her name right now because I have only just had my first sip of coffee today. I do not want to get it wrong. Oh, actually, I can see it right in front of me. I have her card. It's Blooming Ferns Embroidery. And I am putting a link directly to her Etsy shop in the description below if you're curious about the Advent. It's absolutely stunning. It's packaged so beautifully. It is a wonderful gift to yourself. But all right, I think this is where we're going to start. You tell me, of the other stuff I have going, what do you think I should tackle? All right. Oh, wait, one last pop in. I have to share this with you. Let me pull this camera back a bit. Look at this gorgeous sewing bag. I found this from a vendor at Woolen Folk outside of, it was the day before the Rhinebeck New York Sheep and Yarn Festival. There was another festival going on at the Brickyards, and it was called Woolen Folk that year. And there was a woman that was selling these sewing bags. This is a piece of fabric that is reclaimed from a vintage kimono. Is this absolutely stunning? And then look at these handles, wooden handles with this inlay. Absolutely beautiful find. I am so thrilled that I bought this sewing bag there. And I do keep cross stitch and whatnot in this. And this is what I'll be keeping, whatever I'm working on now. But I just wanted to share that bag with you. It's such a beautiful find. Yeah, I just love it. So I'm curious to know what you guys think about the needlework. I would love it if some of you joined in on the Blooming Ferns embroidery advent with me. It is just such a nice treat to yourself, or if you know somebody who loves needlework, as a great Christmas gift. I will tell you that when I do an advent, I don't cheat. I go day by day by day. I know some of you will open it up and rip it all apart, but I love giving myself a little present every single day. And she puts her hands on every single thing. She individually boxes the little boxes. There's ribbons to untie, there's envelopes to open. It is such a delight of a thing. So I hope you'll check that out. And I will continue to update on the role play journals, and I'll continue to do flip throughs of characters, but to delineate the two so that if what you're really interested in is brain shift and intentional living, which is what we really talk about here so much of the time, an RPJ video will be labeled as such. If you saw the last one, there's a little banner that says Chronicles of Alva across the center. I'll just keep that artwork going and it'll just list the character. So Chronicles of Shannon, Chronicles of Flora, and you'll know that that's an RPJ flip through and chat. So if you're not interested in those, you don't have to click on those. If you're only interested in those, that's what you're looking for in that space. We have started a Discord for the RPGA journey. What I'll say about Facebook versus Discord is that it was about 50-50. The difference is that the people who said that they were not interested in Facebook as a group setting where we can have some back and forth chats about the things we're working on, because you can't really do that easily here on YouTube. They had really personal reasons for not wanting to be on Facebook, is what it came down to. And the people who didn't pick Discord didn't have anything against it. They just had never tried it before. So that felt pretty clear to me that Discord is what we needed to try. And it's basically just a long flow chat. There are subsections. You can just click in on the only thing you're interested in there once a week, every couple of days, and just see what's been posted. You can definitely lurk over there. You do not have to comment if you don't want to. So we'll keep that going for a while. I enjoy doing lives on Facebook. So the concept of creating a Facebook space in addition to the Discord space where we can talk about everything that happens on this channel is fine for me. And if you're interested in that option, let me know. Meanwhile, I've started a playlist for the RPGs. I hope you'll check out wonderful creator Game Worm, who is Noah. Does a lot of tabletop games and journal games, and his channel's lovely. And he has joined us on Discord as well and can answer a lot of questions for you as an experienced RPG um, player compared to myself. And that's really about it. Give yourself permission. That's going to be our prompt going forward this week. Can you write into your journal pages, today I give myself permission to, or today I gave myself permission to, if you journal in the later part of the day. I've started a small journal that's just called permission, and I write down crazy stuff in there. The other day I wrote down, I give myself permission to throw away all these half-used lipsticks. And then I went back in and wrote down, and I give myself permission to buy wacky lipsticks that are probably going to be too orange when they get home. We do the things that we do, give ourselves permission. I feel like women tend to be our own worst self-critics, right? And I'm hoping that this summer camp experience is releasing some of that through that brain shift. The chemistry is changing. And I think that in the give ourselves permission, I give myself permission to donate a bunch of art supplies and then go buy all the same stuff again. I love my little give myself permission journal I've started. It has a lot of those sort of contradictory things in it because that's who we are as people. But summer camp is giving me permission to focus on the good and the things I really want to do every day. I am so excited about this needlework experience. So thanks for chiming in on it, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys soon. I hope you're having a great summer.